Good morning, everyone, and welcome in to the next matchup here in the three-digit World Cup. This is our last winners bracket matchup of the weekend, our last winners bracket quarterfinals matchup, and our second to last match of the weekend overall. It is Sweden versus South Korea. I think what a lot of people would have called an unlikely matchup in the winners bracket at the start of the tournament, right after qualifiers. These two teams coming out, Sweden in the 14th seed, South Korea in the 11th seed, but upsetting two of the teams in the top 8. Sweden upsetting the 3rd seed in Countryless West, and South Korea upsetting the 6th seed in Australia. My name is Dio. I'm going to be taking you through this matchup as we get now into the roles for both teams. We have a massive 2 for Doomsday Fanboy and a 93 for Psycha. So Sweden going to be getting the first pick here. South Korea getting the first ban and second pick. I think something, at least with first ban, that most teams would consider fairly poor as an outcome. But I'm going to be able to live with it, I think, as they should have some pretty good ideas about what the bans are exactly between these two teams already. South Korea going to be banning out Nomad 6 to start off, and I'm actually a little surprised at that ban, given just how well Sweden has done in comparison to South Korea on a lot of the Hard Rock and DT maps in this tournament so far, particularly DT 1 through 3. I think DT 4, South Korea has a very, very good shot at taking breakpoints off of Sweden on. But definitely some real interesting bans from both of these teams. Double low approach rate ban by South Korea. Hard Rock 1 banned out by Sweden, though. So South Korea just saying no thank you to low approach rate. We don't want to deal with it. We can at least overmod Hard Rock on Crash and free mod. Let's ban out the no mod and hidden low approach rate maps and be done with those. What I was expecting to see was a couple of really solid no-mod bans from Sweden. Things like No-Mod 3, No-Mod 4, as South Korea has had just a fantastic time picking into the more gimmicky no-mod maps and rolling over other teams with them. But instead we see a double Hard Rock ban from Sweden, something that they actually outperformed South Korea on in the previous week's matchup. Up against Countryless West, Sweden had a couple of really solid Hard Rock maps that they actually won on versus Countryless West. Meanwhile, South Korea having close Hard Rock maps versus Australia, who frankly have a Hard Rock weakness in this tournament. I think the addition of Anumi has not done a lot to change that for Australia, and certainly not having him in some of the matches has been a problem for them as well, but the remaining members just not able to cover up for the weakness in Hard Rock that team has had. So South Korea only matching up to Australia really goes, I think, to emphasize their relatively poor Hard Rock scores in the qualifiers. Both their Hard Rock scores below rank number 16, of course, this tournament, starting with a round of 16. So those scores low enough where if you took those alone, they would not have qualified. Going to be a hidden 2 first pick for Sweden, and I do like this first pick in theory. You see a double low approach rate ban from South Korea. You think, hey, maybe we should just pick reading. But this is a type of map where both teams had incredibly close scores in the previous weekend. Both teams did play this hidden 2 already, and they were within 100,000 score of each other. Extremely, extremely close map last weekend between these two teams, and that is why I think it is a little surprising to see it first picked by Sweden. Definitely a confidence pick, though. If you see those scores from last weekend and you still pick into this, you have to be confident going into this map. talk through the lineups a little bit on both these teams before we get into this first map. On the red side, on the left, you have Sweden, the actually lower seeded team at seed number 14. Saika OK1, the captain for this team. Blue, Yagiko, Lightwine, Knots, and Skilla, going in for Sweden here. Skilla, Knots, and Blue, the current lineup for this team. Worst HR player, Gusrua 123, and Spectre, the current lineup for South Korea on the opposing blue side. Their overall roster, with Doomsday Fanboy as the captain, Pain, and Tofunim joining these three you see on the screen. And we're getting into this first pick now. I think, again, a very interesting first pick, given how close the scores were between these two teams on the previous week's Hidden 2. You can take a look at the qualifier results for Hidden 1 in qualifiers as well, actually. And they had, again, a 150,000 score difference between the two teams there, so about 50K per player on average. Incredibly close scores between these two teams on this skill set in particular, which makes this first pick so interesting from Sweden. No early breaks from either team so far. Skilla, Knots, and Blue still holding double SS on the side of Sweden for Blue and Skilla right now. 99% accuracy for worst Hard Rock player, Gusrua and Spectre, just below that 99% mark in the 98th. Worst Hard Rock player, though, finding a chain miss there on that stream right before this breakdown section. Blue finding a slider break to match, but the accuracy drop from worst Hard Rock player, along with the second break there, really going to start taking the toll on the overall score for South Korea. It looks like we did see a break right at the start of the map for Knots. I didn't notice a slider break looked like within the first 20 combo or so. But these overall combos now for Sweden, definitely better than the combos you see on South Korea. Knots and Spectre missing at the exact same spot is a trade of combos that Sweden can afford on this first pick for them. Full combos still matching up to each other for Skilla and Gusrua right now. Extra combo on both Blue and Knots now with that second break from Spectre. An unmatched break from South Korea here. And that break from Gusrua just about seals it up. Blue still holding that supporting combo alongside Knots. And Skilla, most importantly, still holding this FC for Sweden. And based off the scores from the previous 2 weekends, you wouldn't have expected this as a first pick from Sweden. But damn, they look really good on this map. This had to be a confidence pick, like I talked about before. And it certainly looks like it was. Near the FC for Skilla, 600K on both other members of this team for Sweden. And a 2.3 million team score to start them out on this map. Just about equal to their score last week. So if you assume each week that the maps get harder, that is a really solid overall score for them, matching up to their score from round of 16 on the exact same type of map. And we're going to waste no time for South Korea getting into No Mod 2 here. Run or Dash by Psy. Not the Freedom Dive Psy, but the Toho Psy instead. Got a capital X, so you can look at the capital X. 180 BPM long stream flowing test is the name of the game on this map. A lot of awkward cornering on this map. A lot of really high spacing on this map at 180 BPM. Not quite like what you see in Honesty, for example, but still relatively high spacing where you have them spaced out from each other, and you need to be able to aim them properly while holding on to stamina on very, very long streams. 100 plus note streams in this map is nothing to scoff at, despite the fact that it's 180 BPM. If you really are not a stamina player, if you really are not somebody who plays stream maps kind of on the regular, you are not going to have a very good time with this map. And that is why we see a swap of members for both teams here at the moment. We now have Saika, Knots, and Lightwine in for Sweden, as compared to the previous map where we had Skilla and Blue joining Knots for that lineup. Doomsday Fanboy, Pain, and Spectre in for South Korea here. Doomsday Fanboy and Pain coming in for Gazrua and worst hard rock player. I think this is within strategy for South Korea. They have a really solid no-mod roster on this team. They had some of the best no-mod performance across the qualifying round on this roster. Top 8 on every no-mod map and top 3 on no-mod 4 in qualifiers for South Korea. That extends a little bit into the hidden pool as well, where they were still top 8 on hidden 1 and top 16 on hidden 2. And the other break from Lightwine definitely going to be helping them out with extending that dominance over the no-mod pool in general. Knott's also finding a random slider break there. It looks like just misaiming those slider jumps. Now Saika, the only player left on the side of Sweden with a full combo compared to the 3 FCs. Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. Not 3 FCs from South Korea. Doomsday Fanboy and Pain breaking right there at the same exact time, leaving Spectre versus Saika as the highlight matchup of this map here. Double full combo for those two. Pain breaking again on the Wiggles, and the stream going right into that longer slider means massive combo advantage right now for Sweden as Lightwine and Knots have fully recovered here. Lightwine on 99.4, almost 99.5 AC, with just about 600 combo to his name compared to the max 300 supporting combo from Doomsday Fanboy over on South Korea. Spectre doing a great job continuing this full combo with the second highest Zac in the lobby, only to Lightwine right now. Knots and Saika both find misses, but Spectre drops the FC as well from South Korea. It's less than the 100,000 score lead for Sweden right now. There is combo on both Doomsday Fanboy and Pain. If Lightwine drops, this can go back over. We're getting into the ending of the map where we're going to see high spacing increases here. These are the streams that I'm talking about. If you misaim these, you chain miss the entire rest of the stream. That's what you see happening to Saika right there. If Lightwine drops, this still can go over with chain misses, but it doesn't look like he's going to. And a mere 55,000 score difference is all it takes for Sweden to start us off 2-0 with that breakpoint. The recovery there from Saika, absolutely crucial to... the recovery from Lightwine, absolutely crucial to Sweden's victory there. 5 100s on that play for Lightwine. Just putting up a really fantastic score. 728,000 on that play. Just barely enough to eke out the win against South Korea, who has had a really fantastic time on this no-mod pool overall. It's been 2 wins in a row for Sweden on relatively low aim heavy maps, both on Hidden 2 and No Mod 2. I think with that in mind, you've got a couple of maps in this pool that certainly present themselves as relatively obvious low aim focused picks. Maybe not the No Mod 3, given that it is a little bit snap aim focused, but it is another alt map in the pool to go along with kind of what you do in Hidden 2 there. Sweden is feeling like they can give that one a chance, but again, I think South Korea generally wants to pick into that kind of thing anyway, so you probably leave that up. The other map I think that Sweden can go into here, actually 2 of them, would be Fremont 1 and Fremont 2. Fremont 1, a relatively techie flowing pick, and 3-2, a relatively consistency-focused streamy pick. They're going to go say neither. They're going to go with Hard Rock 3, which I feel like is a very odd pick. Sweden double banned Hard Rock and then pick the last remaining Hard Rock, which, like, that's a little weird, but okay, sure. Hard Rock 1 is a really awkward sort of map. It's got a lot of really wonky angles and a lot of weird streamy stuff going on. Your pure aim players on that map might feel a little bit uncomfortable with either of those things, primarily with the really wonky stream shapes on the pick. And your stream players, of course, are going to feel uncomfortable with all the awkward aim in that map. So it's a map that has a tricky combination of skill sets to really get right. And then on Hard Rock 2, you've got this really weird sort of single tappy alt map that I think really only works if you've got dedicated Hard Rock players who are also very good at that particular type of thing. To be fair, Sweden did actually play last week Hard Rock 2 up against Countryless West and won in extremely convincing fashion, almost a million team score up against Countryless West, which is why I was so surprised that they banned Hard Rock here. I think they would have had a very, very solid run on Hard Rock 2 overall, even if they were a little bit uncomfortable on it. But that is to say that this Hard Rock 3 then, when you've got these other two maps in Hard Rock that are really weird combinations of skill sets, the Hard Rock 3 tends to be a little bit simpler in what it does, and that's exactly the case with this map. This is entirely polygonal pattern aim. There is absolutely nothing else going on in the map besides that, and it's CS 6.5. That's it. That's the whole map. Send tweet. So if you are kind of a little bit binaric in your skill set regarding Hard Rock, if you only really like aim Hard Rock, then this type of map goes very well for those sorts of players. And there are certainly the types of players on Sweden who do kind of like that. Blue in particular, I think an extremely good Hard Rock aim player. Skill a little bit more well-rounded. I think could have gone in on a couple of different things. Yagako we see as well on Hard Rock 2 last week alongside Nods. So not too surprising of a roster for Sweden on this pick. Doomsday Fanboy, Pain, and worst Hard Rock player going in for South Korea. Doomsday Fanboy, their namesake Hard Rock player here. Worst HR player does find an early miss, down in accuracy as well on the rest of the lobby at the moment. Two misses, though, for both Yagako and Blue. Doomsday Fanboy and worst HR player both match, however. So it is still just the early combo lead for Sweden right now. Skilla versus Pain, currently the deciding matchup in this map. No breaks in this pick, as far as I remember. So they will not see that on the scoreboard. Pain, however, under-aiming that slider and paying for it with a break that is going to cost maybe the map here. However, Blue and Skilla both drop combo. It is only Yagako with combo to match Doomsday Fanboy. Worst HR player has some combo on the side of South Korea, but I just don't think there's enough map left. There's still 100,000 score lead on the side of Sweden. Even with that repeated break from Skilla, Pain matches the miss, and that is going to seal it up in favor of Sweden. A 3-0 start for this team in this match. Relatively close map here, just about 90,000 score lead for Sweden, but still able to once again clinch out the point. Was one very convincing win on Hidden 2 into two very close wins on Nomadsu and Hard Rock 2 here. Both these last two maps will be within 100,000 score of each other. 55k on Nomadsu and 90k on Hard Rock 3. South Korea, though, still confident in these picks, going to be going for Nomad 4. And I really like this pick. They were top 3 on Nomad 4 in qualifiers. and they, I think, are going to be very strong on it in general throughout the tournament. You have some really, really good tech players on this team overall. Doomsday Fanboy and Worst Hard Rock player last weekend, both getting 900k on the tech map in no mod. Doomsday Fanboy actually full comboing that map. Gasrua dropping about 600k as well. A couple misses in the middle of the map for him. So I think you're going to have very, very solid runs on a lot of these maps for most of the players on the side of South Korea. Meanwhile, for Sweden, you have basically 3 players dropping around 600-700k average for this team. Blue with 760k, Nox with 660k, and then Skilla with 630k or 640k, right around there. So you've got a pretty binary representation of the skill on tech maps between these two teams. South Korea being one of the top 3 performers on tech in qualifiers, having an extremely good run of it in their previous match, and Sweden being, well, okay, top 16 on tech in qualifiers, but nothing to write home about in the face of a team that I think is just going to smack on this map. Let's put it that way. South Korea is going to smack on this map. I think this is a solid pick for them, especially being down 3-0. You want a pick that is going to get you back in the game, that is going to change the momentum, and that is exactly what this map is meant to do for them. Rosters for this map: Skilla, Blue, and Saika on the side of Sweden. Doomsday Fanboy, Worst Hard Rock player, and Spectre in for South Korea. So a sub out compared to last weekend's tech map. I'll be missing at the start of this first drop here for either team. There's a break on one of the sliders in the middle of the map for Spectre. Those back and forth slider jumps, really tricky to read properly if you haven't played this map a ton before. Saika also dropping on the same sort of pattern right afterwards. Ever so slight combo lead for South Korea because of the timing of the misses, but the accuracy doing more for Sweden right now than the combo lead will do for South Korea, particularly the act deficit between Saika and Spectre. Saika up 1.5% over Spectre right now, and that is really what's driving the score over to Sweden's side. Still incredibly close between the two teams, however. Act leads mean nothing in the face of significant combo drops, and we can see them here in the second half of the map. Saika misaiming that perfect stack. Blue, Spectre, and Worst Hard Rock player all breaking in short order right afterwards. It is now just Doomsday Fanboy versus Skilla. The 2 FCs left up in the lobby, and the 2 top performers from last weekend on each of these teams' scores for the tech map, duking it out in what's basically a 1v1 at this point. If either of them breaks, the entire map is decided. In the meantime, supporting combo for Saika does drop alongside Blues for Sweden. Worst Hard Rock player and Spectre holding when it counts here at the end of the map, just barely enough to keep some kind of score on their side. That slider break from Skilla just seals it up, and you can see the tilt right afterwards, the cursor dance into the miss. He knows exactly what happened there, and he knew probably the map was on him at that point. Being the top performer last weekend, you are expected to pull out a score like what you see from Doomsday Fanboy there. The full combo 1100s on that play for 960k. The hard carry from Doomsday Fanboy on that map, as the rest of the team competitive with the scores from Sweden, but really needing that extra bit of high score to push them over the edge of Skilla's 800k. with that win on the tech map for South Korea, I think that might give Sweden a little bit of pause into picking into stuff like the No Mod 3 and the Free Mod 1. I think they do still have a lot of other good picks in this matchup. I think, for example, even something like DT1 or DT3 would be really solid picks for them. We have not seen either of these teams pick into speed yet, and I think that that's something that Sweden should be able to do pretty well on versus South Korea. Sweden last weekend was competitive with Countryless West on speed. If you watched the matchup earlier this weekend between Countryless West and Australia, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about when I say that the fact that Sweden is competitive with Countryless West on speed puts them as one of the top 5 speed teams in the entire tournament right now. It is a really incredible feat. They are able to go from a relatively poor performance on speed in qualifiers to one of the single best we've seen in the bracket stage within a single weekend. And I really do expect them to pick into some of it here, but they are going to go with Hidden 1 instead. A double Hidden pick so far for Sweden. No mods, no DTs. Just the Hiddens and the Hard Rocks at this point. They are all out of them now. They're going to have to pick into something else next. But for now, it is going to be Daemonish or Daemonisk. I don't German. Song by Tuyu. I'm not going to pronounce the diff name. This is like really awkward hidden aim at 200 BPM here. There's a couple of like slower parts in the intro and some random parts sprinkled throughout the map where the song very noticeably slows down. But largely what you're going to get in this map is your basic like Tuyu, Yorushika sort of relatively awkward aim. Going to bring us into these rosters here. Skilla, Knots, and Blue going in for this one. You expect Blue to be in on a lot of the aim maps. You don't typically expect Knots in for aim maps, but I think this is the type of map where he can do fairly well. A has already done pretty well on the Hidden 2 pick for Sweden so far. And B, a lot of the aim in this one is relatively short jumps, stuff like anti-aim, where aim control is more important than the ability to hit super high star rating jumps like on No Mod 1 and Hard Rock 1. Map also relatively slider heavy, as you can see. A lot of bursts in this map and some longer streams in one part of this pick, which I think Knots is among the members here uniquely well equipped to handle. Doomsday Fanboy, Gus Rua, and worst Hard Rock player in for South Korea at the moment. I think all of these rosters make a lot of sense. Doomsday Fanboy sort of the all-rounder for South Korea's team at the moment after being basically a Hard Rock specialist for South Korea's OWC team. It's really nice to see Doomsday Fanboy getting the chance to shine on a lot of other maps in this tournament. I think if you only watched OWC this year, you would have expected him to really only be in for a few things, but he has really branched out his skill set and deserves praise for how well he slotted into the role of captain and all-round carry for this team. Gus Rua and worst Hard Rock player also in on this one. Worst Hard Rock player, I think the other sort of all-round player for this team to go in on nearly every map, so no surprise to see him here. Surprised to see the miss from Blue exactly halfway through the map, though. Doomsday Fanboy does find the break right at the same time, right after Blue's miss there. About 50 combo later. Oh, Knots misses on those back and forths as well as Blue. Only Skilla with the full combo right now for Sweden. Gus Rua and worst HR player still full comboing for South Korea, and this might be the breakpoint that South Korea needs to put themselves back into an even game state. We've still got the stream section to go through here, and there can be chain misses for either side on that part, which can swing it back one way or the other, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to bring it back to the side of Sweden. We're basically just coming up on the end of the map now. Here are those long streams near the end. These Axel decel stream patterns are so nasty, but Gus Rua makes it through unscathed, and that is going to be more than enough to keep the score on the side of South Korea, despite misses for 4 players in the lobby. Going to be about a 200,000 score lead for South Korea there. 800K for worst HR player, 974K for Gasurua. And despite the 10-100 full combo from Skilla on that map, those misses in the middle for Naughts and Blue, just not what you needed to see from Sweden in order to take this pick. So it does end up being traded back to South Korea. Now 3-2. However, basically even game state, as South Korea has the next pick, has the opportunity to tie it up 3-3 here. And are going to try to do so now with double time 4. You would not normally expect the double time pool to get picked up by South Korea, at least not in this tournament in particular. I think South Korea in general in this tournament is going to prefer not speed. However, this map is not particularly speed. It is largely 150 BPM alt with very high approach rate, AR 10.1, and with quite a lot of 300 BPM bursts, 300 BPM triples, and 5-note bursts. Nothing super long, of course, being 300 BPM. But this is a very interesting map, I think, for South Korea as a case study into how double time 4 has evolved from something where, you know, you need a lot of extra speed on your finger control players in order to really do well on it, into something where you can have these same players who typically go in for no mod or hard rock alt maps go in for this type of map and still perform relatively well, so long as they have some kind of speed to back it up. It's why you see Spectre and Pain in right now for South Korea, members who I think they are, you know, usually going to reserve for some of the speedier maps in these pools. No Tofunim yet, of course, I think really reserved for the proper DT maps in No Mod 5, but certainly getting along that same line of player for this next map. Skilla, Blue, and Yagako going in for Sweden here, and you can see again, Blue is not a player that you would usually put in for speed maps if you are on the side of Sweden. You put this guy in for your aim picks so that he can just go beast mode on the aim control or on the super wide jump aim. But here on Double Time 4, as it is mostly alt aim control rather than anything else, rather than the speed. I'd also like to thank the raiders who came in here at the start of the map before we get into anything serious with this one. Thank you for the raid there. Picked a good time to come in. South Korea currently 2-3 behind Sweden, but this is their pick. Expected to win it and tie it up 3-3. Definitely an interesting matchup between two tournament underdogs at the moment. Early break for Pain on the side of South Korea. That is almost halfway through the map as well. So going to impact a lot of score over to the side of Sweden. Skilla does drop a full combo in response, but already 200,000 score in the favor of Sweden, and Pain finding another drop as well. The accuracy for South Korea really not going how they would have liked it to here. Spectre down at 94, 95%. Pain down at 93% or so. Nobody on Sweden below 96 right now. Finally, Skilla drops below that point. Yagako and Doomsday Fanboy trade two full combos there on the stacks. And it's just Spectre with combo for South Korea right now, and he drops that. That basically seals it up for Sweden at this point. It is as good as over on this map right now. Blue just going off on this pick for Sweden is exactly what they wanted to see. He finally drops the combo, but not before accruing 800,000 score and the better part of a 600,000 score lead for Sweden. And you can see, I think, a very clear difference in comfort on this map between Sweden and South Korea. Sweden with 670k, 680k, and 862k, the highest score on South Korea, lower than the lowest score on the side of Sweden. That is a pick gone awry for South Korea there. Really misgauging just how good Sweden would be at that map. I think that opens up some insight into maybe how the double time pool or how the no mod alt map can go for Sweden. After that DT pick, something like the DT3, which is still 280 BPM, very, very high BPM on that pick, might be an okay pick there. They're going to go with no mod 5 instead, though, so still picking into the speed, maybe not double time, but still picking into the speed here. Map Sugary Daydream by Zek, by Taquito, is kind of what you would expect from a Zek song at 230 BPM mapped by someone like Taquito. You've got a lot of consecutive bursts in this map. You've got a lot of emphasis on finger control and slider control at high BPM as well. So this is a kind of more well-rounded speed control test than it is a traditional quote-unquote no mod 5 pick in no mod, where you just have a relatively mid-length bursts and streams that are put back to back to test general speed stamina. This one much more about that finger control, much more about that mastery of this BPM rather than competency at the BPM. Skilla, Saika, and Yagako in for Sweden. No real surprises to see these three in for this roster. Saika coming in for the speed map, of course, no surprises. Yagako as well, I think a pretty solid pickup for the speed for Sweden. Skilla going to be in for the vast majority of maps on this team. Doomsday Fanboy, Gus Rua, and Spectre in. Once again, Skilla and Doomsday Fanboy basically in for every map. South Korea having their carry player as captain. Gus Rua and Spectre going in for the speed right here. Kind of their tapping players, if you will. Yagako with an early slider break matched by Gus Rua on this map. Actually, that looked like a Bancho miss for Gus Rua. Just the early slider break for Yagako. Spectre with a miss right at the start of the map within the first 20 combo. Not going to impact too much. Can look at the accuracy, though, to start impacting stuff here. You have both members, Gus Rua and Spectre, down at 96% for South Korea right now, compared to only Yagako around 96 for Sweden. Both Saika and Skilla up at 99%. Gus Rua's miss earlier was a Bancho miss, but it looks like that miss for Yagako was not. It looks like that was a real miss there. So this score lead now going to go well in the favor of Sweden, or excuse me, South Korea, as Sweden with a combo deficit. Yagako's miss there, doing them a little bit dirty, as we get some fake Bancho misses on the side of South Korea. You see another slider break come through for Saika as well. And much like the last pick, this map just completely evaporating the combos for Sweden now, as Skilla and Saika break once again. Yagako is on the recovery, but this is essentially a double full combo still for South Korea. No, triple full combo still, as another Bancho miss comes through for Gus Rua. This is just complete domination by the South Korean roster on this map. And we get one misread on double time 4 for South Korea into another complete mispick onto no mod 5 by Sweden. Really odd sort of map for South Korea to pop off on, though. You definitely don't expect this looking at the qualifier scores. You don't expect it looking at their speed scores versus Australia last weekend. And you really don't expect an average 600K from Sweden after their performance on speed last weekend. That is a really tough underperformance based on the scores they had in round of 16. I don't know if it's exactly skill cap or what really happens on that map, but they certainly did not have as good of a time with that pick as they did last weekend with Nomad 5 in general. South Korea now poised once again to be able to tie it up with this next pick, looking for 4-4 before we see match point for Sweden. They do not want to give this pick over. They don't want to give match point to Sweden. And so they go with what I think is a relatively safe pick for them in this free mod 1. Well, I say relatively safe. I think this pick can go either way. Sweden had a really good time of free mod 1 last weekend, but that map was more so focused on kind of wonky stream shapes rather than tech streams. I think the difference there is in spacing and how extreme the angles are in some of these streams. This one, for example, having spaced out triangle triples into a slider, which is really, really tough to deal with if you have not practiced the map. Last week's free mod 1 having none of that, just having a lot of sort of wiggly streams and changes in spacing within the stream, which is still readable even if you haven't really practiced the map all that much. Even just a practice run or two is usually fine for most players on that type of pick. Whereas here, I think if this is not your bread and butter, you're really going to be needing to practice this one a little bit more. South Korea, meanwhile, have been one of the best tech teams in the tournament, notwithstanding, the very top teams in the tournament. So I think that they are probably still going to have a relatively good time with this map, even if they are, even if this is still a pick that is relatively good for Sweden. I think that South Korea still has the potential to pop off on this map. We do see one hidden and one hard rock for both teams. Note that in this tournament, you do not need two unique mods. You can go triple hard rock if you want to, or triple hidden if you want to on free mod. So this is by choice. They go with hard rock and hidden on either team. Lightwine with an early miss on the hard rock. Spectre with an early miss or misses on Nomad. Psycho also following it up with a couple misses on the Nomad play himself. Better overall combo for South Korea because of that. Psycho really having a lot of trouble on the Nomad here at the moment for Sweden. Not what you want to be seeing from the player on Nomad. Skilla just beast moding with the hidden, but can only do so much against the SS from worst hard rock player and the hard rock FC coming out of Doomsday Fanboy right now, as Psycho is just not having a good time with this map, finding multiple breaks all over the place. The recovery from Lightwine is good, but they're basically missing a member for Sweden at this point, with Spectre on a solid recovery and Psycho having little to no combo at any point throughout the map. Finally, some recovered combo comes through for Psycho, but at this point, I think it's just too late for any kind of comeback to happen. 400,000 score in the lead for South Korea, and they look to be tying it up here 4-4 with this pick. Oh, man, a miss for Doomsday Fanboy right on the last stream, but the hidden full combo for worst hard rock player at least stays intact for them. Still over 1 million score on two members of that map for South Korea. It was, I think, a little bit more one-sided than I would have expected, with, unfortunately, Psycho just having too much trouble on that map. Only one miss for Lightwine, however, so relatively close to making that score competitive with Doomsday Fanboys. and it would have just been left up to the supporting no mod players. Regardless, we are 4-4 at the moment, tied game state for the first time since the very start of the match when we were 0-0. Now Sweden losing a bit of momentum here halfway through, or in the second half, excuse me, of this match. One pick left for each team, and they had better make it count. You've got some interesting maps left up in this map pool as well. It is going to be free mod 3, the pick for Sweden. This has been an interesting map all weekend. CS5 AR8, only 1 minute and 41 seconds. Super old map as well. Just kind of a classic, super old flame focused, near grid snap, distant snap sort of map. And we've seen teams go double easy on this and just completely lose all of their score. We've seen other teams go just triple hard rock and actually be completely fine on this map. And I think part of the reason for that is because a lot of the time you're not going to see a lot of players who are more comfortable with the reading strain than with the mechanics strain on a pick like this, and you'll 9 times out of 10 take that extra mechanics strain due to hard rock than you will the additional reading strain from hidden or easy. That said, if there is a map where you are going to put easy on in the pre-mod pool, or where you are going to put hidden on in the pre-mod pool, it is going to be one with a relatively simple patterning that this map has. Skilla, Saika, and Blue going in for Sweden, which really makes me think they're going with some hard rocks on this map. Skilla may be taking hidden, but I'm expecting a double hard rock from Skilla and Blue, frankly speaking. Gus Rua, worst hard rock player, and Pain going in for South Korea. Surprised to not say Doomsday Fanboy in on this one for some hard rock, but we do see Gus Rua taking the hidden hard rock, and we do see Skilla taking hidden on the previous map rather than on this one. Let's see if we can get everybody on the correct map now. It is an overmod from South Korea. Worst hard rock player did not need to take hidden only on this map. It's an overmod for both teams, actually. Lots of early misses coming out from South Korea right now. Saika did find a miss near the start of the map. Blue also missing there about a third of the way through. This is not a very combo-dense map, so any of these misses, even on 200, 150 combo, really mattering. Skilla also missing now for Sweden. That is huge. Gus Rua, the only combo intact in the entire lobby, and has full control over the outcome of the map right now. The longer he holds, the easier it is for South Korea to win this point. Blue doing all he can to hold on to any combo right now for Sweden. But as long as Gus Rua has this full combo, this is going to go over to South Korea. 3/4 of the way through, Gus Rua still full comboing with the hidden hard rock. There is recovered combo on both worst HR player and Pain as well. More combo on even the supporting members of South Korea than the supporting members of Sweden. This is an across-the-board combo advantage for South Korea at the moment. And I think that's going to be enough to take this point. Gus Rua with the full combo on hidden hard rock. Yeah, the accuracy isn't the best at 94%, but that is still 900k plus for South Korea on that map. And even despite the double 400k out of the 2 remaining members on the team, that is going to be 5-4 in South Korea's favor and their next pick as well. South Korea forcing match point after being down all match long. And I suppose they've already got their pick lined up here. They want free mod 2. We're going to talk about maybe the no mod 3 is going to be a good pick for them. Maybe we see free mod 2 come out, but this is a little bit surprising to see. Actually, given how the streamier maps in the pool have gone, you kind of expect this to be a bit of a toss-up between the two teams. So I think this is going to be an interesting one to see. We've seen Sweden win on no mod 2 and Hidden 2 so far, but we also saw South Korea win on no mod 5. I think this map is a little bit more akin to no mod 2 than anything else in the pool. That's kind of the closest pick that you have to it in this map pool. So this is probably going to be a toss-up where I kind of favor Sweden, honestly. I think this is an interesting last pick by South Korea picking into this. But it may be something like the Hidden 2 we saw earlier from Sweden where, you know, given the past scores that we've seen from both teams, you don't really expect them to go for it, but it ends up just being an incredibly solid pick for them. We'll have to see exactly what South Korea has in store for us on this map. Gus Rua, worst Hard Rock player, and Spectre in for this one for South Korea. Skilla and Lightwine in at the moment for Sweden. I can see several other members going in for this one. Probably Psycho or not. It's going to be Blue, really, coming in for this one for Sweden. This is a relatively streamy map at 200 BPM, which is why I wasn't really expecting Blue to come in for this, but maybe they want somebody on the Hard Rock. I'm not sure. They don't need the Hard Rock for this map. You can go double Hidden once again. But an AR9 flat, this map is relatively dense with Hidden only, and so you kind of prefer Hard Rock most of the time with this type of map. South Korea up 5-4 at the moment, looking to close it out with this last pick. They've had an incredible back half of this match. These last 4 maps in a row, or 3 maps in a row, excuse me, have all been wins for South Korea. And they have won 4 out of the 5 last maps that we have seen in this match as well. The momentum is solidly with them at the moment. An overmod once again for Sweden. Gus Rua taking a Hidden Hard Rock. Not really an overmod there for South Korea. But 3 players on mods for Sweden. Again, you don't need the Hidden on Skilla. He can just go no mod. Even if the preference is there for Hard Rock for the other 2 players. Let's see how it works out for Sweden. This is winner's bracket on the line for both teams. Wanting to stay in that winner's bracket and guarantee yourself the top 6 spot by making it to the winner's semifinals. Currently, only full combos are on Sweden's side. South Korea with no full combos right now. Early breaks for every single member on their team. They're already halfway through this map, by the way. This is the exact halfway point right now. Any misses here are devastating to the overall score for any player. It doesn't look like anybody getting tripped up by the streams in this section, though. CRN jumps can be a little bit awkward for some newer players, but it looks like none of these players in particular having any real trouble with them. Sweden gonna see the state of the game at this scoreboard long for South Korea. They both know they have to hold. Nobody breaking on the slider jumps there. That's a very common place to miss. Blue missing on the regular jumps right afterwards. You can see the frustration in the cursor shake as well. Or the cursor dance, excuse me. Really not liking that break for Blue. And that hurts Sweden's chances so much to stay in this match and stay in the winner's bracket. Is there enough time at the end for South Korea to clinch this out? Do they break again? Lightwine breaks on Sweden's side, and I think that's going to be enough to bring it over to South Korea. That break right at the end from Lightwine, I think, just gave it right over to South Korea. Excuse me, by less than 100K. And despite very solid all-round scores for Sweden, that earlier break from Blue, that miss on the jumps, and that miss right at the end from Lightwine, that one slider break, just barely enough for South Korea to edge out that play. The early slider breaks and misses for all members on the side of South Korea, not mattering in the end, as Sweden finds the chokes near the end of the map and ends up favoring the reverse chokes from South Korea. Been an exciting set of matches this morning so far. 2 tiebreakers to start off the day in Japan versus Hong Kong. Hong Kong winning that matchup in, once again, a bit of a seeding upset there. Japan actually both of those teams upsetting the teams right before them in the bracket. So Hong Kong actually the higher seeded team in that matchup, technically speaking, from qualifiers. A second tiebreaker right in a row with Germany versus Indonesia. Indonesia finding the seeding upset over Germany. Seed 7 winning out over Seed 2. And now South Korea finding the win over Sweden. Seed 11 advancing into the winners semifinals and guaranteed top 12 for South Korea. It's been an incredibly competitive bracket here in the winners bracket round quarterfinals overall. 3 out of 4 matches in the winners bracket this weekend have been tiebreakers. France versus China, Japan versus Hong Kong, and Germany versus Indonesia. This is the only winners bracket match which did not see a tiebreaker this weekend. You have some interesting matchups in the losers bracket as well. Sweden going to be facing off against Brazil in the losers bracket. Brazil, one of the original teams a lot of people were looking at to win the tournament overall. Indonesia going to be facing off against the winner of our last matchup of the weekend, the United States versus the United Kingdom. Japan versus Poland, and China versus Countryless West. Again, another fantastic matchup there in China versus Countryless West, 2 of the top teams in the tournament. We're going to see the United States versus the United Kingdom today at 20 UTC with the map pool showcase at a time to be determined. Stay tuned for that. Join the Discord if you do want to stay tuned on those announcements. In the meantime, congratulations to South Korea. Good luck to Sweden in the losers bracket. And thank you to all of you for watching. We'll be back here at 20 UTC.